Well, Hell House got some updates, so let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So, a couple weeks ago, Hell House Lineage actually got some updates directly from director Stephen Cognetti. He was featured on a podcast called The Horror Show, and while they talk a lot about Hell House and some other topics, Hell House Lineage came up, and there was a couple of minor updates that he kind of sprinkled in throughout that podcast episode. So, shout out to Freddie Torres, a good buddy of mine who sent me that podcast over, and I was kind of able to listen to it, go through it, and I picked out a few timestamps of some, I think, interesting updates that we have coming for Lineage. Now, after I listened to the podcast for a little bit, it kind of made me think with some of the details that they dropped. I kind of also wanted to go back to the Lineage teaser trailer that we got, and I wanted to kind of run through it, watch it back through once, and then kind of go through it a second time and kind of pause and pull up a few things that were featured in that trailer because I feel like they're telling us quite a bit about the next movie without saying too much. So what I want to do here today is pull up the trailer, go back through it, and then we're going to jump over to that podcast episode, and I'm going to play a couple of clips here for all of us to listen to, just to get these updates for Lineage so we can find out what to expect and, when is this movie coming. All right, so let's start out with the teaser trailer first. Let's run through it once, and then, like I said, we'll come back to it a second time, and then I'll go through it, I'll pause, and kind of give my thoughts on what I think it is that they're showing us and kind of put the pieces together.
Something's come cold the nightfall. All things die and never come back.
Okay, so that was our teaser trailer. Now, let's kind of bring it back to the top and let's go through this a little bit, break it down kind of almost frame by frame, and I'm going to give my thoughts on what I think it is that they're showing us. Okay, so starting with this quote, this might be a minor detail or it might not be anything. This to me looks to be kind of a reference to what happened at the Abaddon Hotel at the end of the third movie, and then finding out in the beginning of the Carmichael Manor, we find out that the hotel burnt down. So I think this quote might be a small reference to that. Could be, or it might not be. Okay, so this is kind of minor, but the snowy forest and the snowy woods, keep that in mind. All right, that was kind of quick, but let's see if I can get that back. Okay, carousel, the fair. We find out in the Carmichael Manor that the carnival and the fair kind of play a part, and it has ties to the clowns, and it has ties to one of the main characters from the Carmichael Manor. Okay, so here's the Carmichael Manor, and if you remember the story from the movie, there's a murder that takes place here, and we find out that the father went missing, the son went missing, and there was only one set of footprints leaving away from the house, and it happened in the snow. So they're showing us that right here.
Something's come.
Okay, well, that was a good place to stop. Here we have the Carmichaels. So if I want to pull this up, I don't want to mess their names up. Okay, we have Arthur, who is the dad right here. We have the son, Patrick. Over here, I believe this is Eleanor, which is Arthur's wife. And then the two daughters in the middle are Catherine and Margaret. The son went missing. The mother was killed. Arthur went missing. Catherine, I believe she went missing, and Margaret was killed in a car accident with Patrick, or it could have been the other way around. I forget which sister it is. One was killed in the house, one was killed in a car accident with Patrick, but he survived. So if I can back that up. Okay, so it's Margaret. So Margaret was a sister that was killed in the house, and Catherine was the one that was killed in the car accident. Okay, so I believe this is the church. So we find out about this church in the Carmichael Manor, and this whole series is tied to like a cult. And Andrew Tully is the one who's responsible for kind of bringing the cult together. And we get the story in the Carmichael Manor that when he came from, I forget where it was he came from, but he resided in this town and he became a pastor of this church. So I think this is the church that they're referring to.
All things die and never come.
All right, then we got our title card. And the infamous clown that we see throughout the whole series. 2025, so it's coming later this year. And there we go. All right, so that was the trailer. Now I want to jump over to the podcast and kind of pull up those clips, and we can get the details from Stephen Cognetti himself all about this upcoming movie. Okay, so this is the podcast episode. It's called The Horror Show. I've never really heard of it, but the hosts, Sean and Joe, brought Stephen Cognetti in to do an interview. And like I mentioned earlier, they kind of talk about all kinds of different stuff here, but I wanted to really focus on any little details he gave us about Lineage. So our first clip here, let's start with that.
A little bit bigger of a budget, but the problem with the fifth one, and not the problem with the fifth one, I'm very excited about the fifth one. Maybe the challenge with the fifth one is that I was switching from found footage to narrative style while not having that level of budget go up to support that. So you're kind of still trying to make you make a narrative film on a found footage budget, which was it ended up not being a problem. Because I just work with great people. Everyone knows what to do. Everyone's really good at what they do. The crew kicked ass. The actors were really good. I've worked with some actors were repeat actors, so I know their abilities. We were ahead of schedule, and it was awesome. So it turned out not to be a problem, even though going into those, it's tough to make a feature narrative with this budget, but it worked out.
That's great.
And 14 days we shot in too.
Wow. So with those.
Okay, so there's our first couple details. Bigger budget and shot in 14 days. Now, let's jump ahead to the second clip.
This latest Hell House is an original. It's going to be released in October on Shudder as well.
That's great.
Okay, so a quick short one right there, but we just got the release date this October and another Shudder original. All right, so let's jump ahead to the third clip because we get the most information there, and it's almost about, I think, 2 minutes long.
And then also this fifth one really brings around a lot, kind of ties in a lot of the story together, and I hope a satisfying way, but it doesn't end the story. So while I've said before this is probably my last Hell House film, I would say don't expect that this is going to be a nice wrapped up storyline where everything's just high five, freeze frame, we won the day. all this stuff. But the fifth one does continue a lot of the story from just like everything we've seen from the original 2, 3, 4, everything kind of come together and not getting wrapped up, but kind of having resolution of some kind of an explanation of some time, even though
Clarity.
the story wouldn't technically end at the end of 5.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so excited. I can't tell you.
I just finished my cut a couple of weeks ago of it, and I'm super excited for this just because it's a different kind of Hell House. It's fresh, and that's that's the one thing I was always worried about doing something else is just repetitive and that's where I was afraid I was going. And I said, like, after 3, I was like, this is getting repetitive. I got to do something completely different. That's what I like the most about this film. It's completely different. It's something you've never seen in Hell House before. So I think for that reason alone, it's going to be fun. But there's going to be a lot of like fun if you're into the Hell House story as well, like the mythology and everything like that. I think it's fun. It's going to be fun on that end as well, not just the scares and everything.
All right, so there we go. Quite a few bits of information there. It's going to be a different style of Hell House movie, not quite the found footage that we're used to, and it's going to tie the story together without ending it. So that was an interesting thing that I heard. This is going to be Cognetti's last Hell House, but even though the story gets wrapped up, and I guess he means that he's going to bring everything full circle and together from the original up until now. But the story still has room to continue. So, I'm happy to hear that, and I'm really looking forward to it. Okay, so the trailer. Interesting stuff in the trailer. I think they're going to go back and piece together the Carmichael story. We heard the story in the 4th movie, but we didn't really see anything about it. We saw some still shots and a little bit of footage in the movie, but I think they're going to go back and actually show us a little more and maybe show us the murders, what happened, and they might piece that story together. And then they also have the carnival. Really quick, the fair ties into the story. So if you remember in Hell House 4, the main girl Margot, she has a story about she was almost abducted as a child, and it happened at that fair. So that quick short shot of the carousel, I think they're going to go back to the fair, maybe show us a little bit with that. We know the clowns have tie-ins to the fair as well, and we got the church too. So I have a feeling that they're kind of piecing all of this together, and they might finally show us a little bit more about those stories that they kind of started to scratch the surface with. All right, so there we go. A little bit of a Hell House update. Directly from Stephen Cognetti himself. We can expect Hell House Lineage in October of 2025 this year, coming to Shudder, and a little bit of a trailer breakdown from me on what I think it is that they're doing in Lineage. Once again, thank you guys for checking this video out. If you like what you see here, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, don't forget, watch more movies.